What's going on, everybody? Welcome, welcome back to Burning the Red Shirt. I mean, we haven't been around for a while. Life's happened, work's happened, families happened, and we're back here specifically for one big reason. We couldn't miss this week, Andrew. I'm curious if you know the exact reason why we're back today.
Is this part of the protest of the fans throwing the beer bottles on the field?
Well, we should discuss that, yes. But there's a game that we needed to celebrate and recognize, and we could not miss it. So there's a specific game on this slate of games that I'm like, if we don't do a show for this week, why do another show? Period.
Oh man, I've just started to familiarize myself with this week's schedule. As I'm sure you've noticed, we're at the part of the calendar where there's just zero downtime anymore. Like the downtime is basically NFL Sunday, NFL Monday, and then we've got midweek games, and it's not even a cycle. It's just a straight line, basically from the beginning of October through Maction, like Thanksgiving-ish week after even at this point. So it's crazy. Well, sleep during February, I guess. But I've just started to look at some stuff for this week. I did not answering your question whatsoever, but I did notice this disturbing trend that I feel like we always get at this part in the calendar that probably results from a couple different things. But there's only 2 10 o'clock games like this week. That earlier in the calendar year, right? We had the earlier weeks, we have a lot more games that start at 8, 9, 10 o'clock, and it makes for such a better viewing experience. But this past week, I think the only 2 games that were going on week 8 at night, late night, were the TCU Utah game and the UNLV Oregon State game. And now, the 2 games late night this week on Saturday before Hawaii at midnight, which is choice, of course, but they are enjoyable games, right? We'll get Mateer and Sean Lewis going out at 10:30, and I think we have Colorado against I forget Cincinnati. That's nice too at 10. But I like a solid 5-6 games minimum going at any time on Saturday. 2 isn't really acceptable.
Yeah, I think it must be a non-conference thing where all these West Coast teams are hosting a non-conference opponent so they can do it at their prime time of 7 local. Yeah. So that's maybe why. But yeah, we haven't seen many 10 p.m. games, period. 2 or 3 max, it feels like each week. But to get back to my original point, a game that is starting after 10 p.m. on Friday.
Oh, Rutgers USC?
Rutgers USC. How are we not? If we're not talking about Rutgers USC, something that was discussed for months and months in the offseason about how incredible that scheduling was. You're semi-Rutgers fan.
Yeah.
You're a late night guy anyways. You're staying up for that, right?
I appreciate so much that they couldn't even start at 10. It has to be 11. That's awesome. I would like to say I'll stay up for it, but I guess the price that I'm paying for continuing to not win the fight against aging, right, is that I don't go hard like I used to on Friday nights because I want to be fresh on Saturdays and really not be hungover as shit and just feeling like death on a college football Saturday, of which we only get so many a year. So I won't necessarily get a ton of sleep on Friday nights, but I probably won't be partying Friday night and rocking drinks and stuff like that, which is 11 p.m. game on Friday night is beautiful for that, but trade-offs and such. But I will attempt to catch a good part of that game though, for sure. Rutgers, things have really gone downhill. You look at the injury reports that get released an hour or 2 before every Rutgers Big Ten game, and it's just a bloodbath. So many of their players every week are continuing to stay hurt, or just new injuries are popping up. It seems like the season that was looking promising is now not so much.
Yeah, it definitely feels like. I commend them for not being sketchy about their injuries. They're definitely straightforward. They're not just out. They're yeah, he's done. He's done for the year, And it was very random. It's funny because who saw Kenny Fletcher, the tight end, automatic, all of a sudden he's yeah, he's out for the year. I was wait, what? When did this even happen? So I commend him. But yeah, things have gone downhill. But the good news is Kyle Monungai is being a guy, and I'm pretty happy about that. He's at 845 yards already, 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly what we hoped for, right? It's not like he was discounted really in drafts coming into the year.
Because of us.
Because of us. But we're getting what we paid for, so that's nice. Even like what did they lose to UCLA by? Like 45 to 10?
UCLA was 35-32. They came back towards
the end. Really?
Yeah, it was they came back towards the end and made it tight. And he ended up going for 106 and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I saw his stats were really nice. I didn't realize the game got that close. But it would have been nice if we could have put a W to that game. Like the schedule, as we've talked about, right, as kind of the for Monungai, it's not that overly challenging, but still, you want to beat UCLA.
If you want a decent bowl game, you got to beat UCLA. They play obviously at USC this weekend, and then Minnesota at Maryland, Illinois at Michigan State. So he should be able to run well on Maryland and Michigan State, maybe Illinois. Minnesota feels like he probably runs well, but it maybe only caps at like 20 carries. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like his upside is still there. I feel pretty vindicated on Monungai. One of 3 things I got right this year, so I'm going to claim him.
You can have him.
Let's talk. You brought it up. Let's talk. What do you think about the bottle throwing situation? Can I grab you up a little bit here on this?
I usually don't get too into like social media temper tantrum stuff, but I think I drunkenly retweeted a bunch of like lunatic Uga stuff that was going on during that game. I should probably go and delete that to go back so people can go back to thinking that I'm somewhat rational. But, dude, that shit was crazy. So my Saturday night, I kind of took the more selfish route, and because I had like up until that point in the weekend, my time was very spoken for, and I didn't really get to do much for myself. So I was like, hey, family, cool if I go and just like go out to the bar and like watch this big game. So walked over to local neighborhood bar, and my wife tried to warn me about this. She's like, there's a fundraiser there during the day. Like, do you think you're going to be able to like just sit down and like watch a game at the local dive bar? Like, it's questionable. I'm like, it's during the day. It's going to be fine. And I get like 500 feet away from the bar, and I could just hear them doing like a 50-50 raffle lottery stuff going on. Like, this is totally fucked. But I get out, I get there. There's like 150 people outside in the parking lot. I get inside. There's like, I can't even get a drink. So I leave and then get an Uber to like a really dive bar that we'll go to. Like, there's no windows in this place. It's awesome. And that was more what I was looking for. So popped down. Like, too many people were trying to watch the Yankee game, but still, like, I had an Uga TV, so that was fine. Scary, like, from an Uga fan's perspective, like, watching that game, it's like, it was so nice seeing we just let the aliens do their thing on defense. Like, none of the like kind of sit back. Like, we just kind of unleashed and like let everyone kind of just actually rush the passer for once, instead of just like, it feels like we never like try and actually just go nuts on defense. Like, it's like more structured and like don't give up big play type stuff. But so that was nice to see. But like watching Beck just throw interception after interception to start the game was not exactly an enjoyable experience. And then at halftime, being up 23-0, at halftime I was like, okay, I'm not the kind of guy who like really enjoys like being out of the bar all night. So at halftime I was like, all right, I'll Uber back, shower, refreshed, and then going for more drinks for round 2 on my home turf. So I played that out. Second half kicks off, and like that like, I don't even know what that kickoff was, but like, did you see this? Like,
I did, but I was also 3 sheets to the wind. So
yeah. Like, I don't know if it was like an attempted squib kick or what, but like on the way back, like even when it was like 23-0 at halftime, I was like, as an Uga fan who witnessed going from Jalen Hurts to Tua in the title game, at the back of my mind is like, are we going to see this shit with Quinn and Arch, and then Arch is going to rip our hearts out type deal? And then like the squib kick, a quick touchdown, like we're so fucked. And then Beck throws that pick, right? I mean, everything's been litigated to such an extent with respect to the bottle throwing and stuff. Like, I don't know how, there's no need to like try to pretend to have an original opinion on it. Like the idea that like that can play out like that, where some drunken Texas fans can influence the outcome in a game in a meaningful way, like with respect to like the refs' decision making, is like not acceptable.
Do you think that other fans are going to start doing that more because this happened?
Doubtful. I don't know. I don't think so.
I think it's like, I hear people that say that. I just don't buy it. I'm sorry. I just don't buy it. I mean, like, people have thrown stuff on the field, but it's super rare. You have to be in like this really kind of crazy situation of like huge game, you're disappointed, huge game, everybody's super drunk, like for that to happen. And I just feel like that's just a perfect storm, and that's not going to happen much.
True.
I'll say this, my buddy from here in Atlanta was hanging out with him yesterday, and he made a great point. It's honestly a good thing that they did that from like a UGA win perspective, because now you get like zero excuses, because it was the right call. It just should have been done in the right way.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, well, like you lost fair and square. You got the call. You got the call right. Now you can't complain about it and say, oh, we would have won if this would have. Right. So from that perspective, it's nice. But yeah, when that happened, it was like, oh, shoot. Like, I wonder if this is going to like, imagine if Georgia would have lost. I mean, that would have been pure insanity if Georgia would have lost from that. But
yeah, so that game in the moment, it's like, it felt like, are we getting some of this like sketchy conference influencing games on behalf of their top teams type deal? Which like some of that shit is so blatant in other conferences. Like the Big 12 is really bad. Like that is like, it is, in my opinion, like beyond gross how that conference is just propping up their top teams. Like intra-game, like stuff is happening to fuck over these teams that are close to pulling upsets.
For who specifically are you thinking? BYU?
That one, I didn't watch it, so I won't pretend to have like that like as clear of an opinion on it. But like just from what I gather, it felt like there was some of that. But like the Iowa State one was really bad. Like the refs might as well have just walked down and placed the ball in the end zone for Iowa State on that final drive.
Was that the pass interference that was called? What was the?
Yeah, pass interference. Right? Really gross stuff.
I don't think there's anything worse though than Miami.
I was just gonna say the ACC.
Miami's the absolute worst.
Like, they're not even trying to hide it.
The worst part, I think this is the reason why. I think every team, you're correct. I think there's certainly teams that are getting some like, hey, we're making sure you're undefeated, you keep winning type thing. But I think Miami's is worse because they go to the ACC command center and then it happens. Because it literally involves the ACC command center, where there's like a group of what I presume are just people that want to make a lot of money and preserve Miami. I mean, they should theoretically have 3 losses. Like Cal, Virginia Tech. This Louisville game was kind of sketchy too. Did you watch you said you didn't really watch football or weren't?
No, yeah, I was talking all day. I saw the overturned defensive touchdown. Like, that's a fucking fumble.
And that's the Cam Ward fumble, right?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, maybe it wasn't a fumble, but like after this happens 3 times or 4 times, it's like, okay, like, you can't get the benefit of the doubt every single time.
Yeah. If we're talking like, we're not talking, but like there's the understanding like the paradigm will continue to shift with respect to the structure of the sport. Things will continue to rely on like the overarching thing that needs to occur is like conferences can exist as like objects or entities within which teams play. But the idea that like we need these people, these fat cows that just suck millions of dollars and have a vested interest overseeing them, like that doesn't need to occur. Right. Like we don't need these people that are like running these conferences and their business interests and personal interests are such that it's going to have effects on the outcomes of games. Why do we need people that are like tethered to the conferences themselves running the conferences? Why can't the conferences just be like structures that within which the teams are contained and they play each other, right? Like divisions there's no there's in the NBA, there's no East Division chair, right? You know?
Or like just in the NFL, there's no NFC North conference group, right? Like or divisional group, right? I don't know. I think the answer is probably because it would make too much sense.
Yeah. I think it's so fun. Like in some ways, I kind of love Greg Sankey because he doesn't even try and hide that he's a total scumbag. But like hearing him talk, like also like when he talks about how like the playoff this year needs to go very well in order for like things to continue down this like the road that they're on. Like we all know what you mean, dude. You're being a fucking scumbag. Like even if your teams suck, we still need to get a lot of teams in. Well, your teams kind of suck, man. I would love to see the SEC get like 2 in, and then we can get a couple, 2 or 3 G5s. Like I really want to like it feels like we're trending down a path where we see like 2 to 3 undefeated G5 teams, and then we're comparing resumes of like a 4-loss SEC team to an undefeated G5.
Yeah, the thing with this playoff is we just don't know what to expect. Like I don't even know what to debate right now. Like are we gonna get so many teams that have 3 losses that we're going to be comparing a 1-loss Boise with Oregon versus a 3-loss Tennessee or Ole Miss or something? Like there's just so many questions that we have no idea. We don't know what we don't know at this point, which I talked to somebody. Yeah. It's crazy. But I will say like this, imagine if we had a 4-team playoff. People would be like, if you're a Bama fan, your season's done, like from Bama standpoint, right? And not to say that Bama should make the 12-team playoff, but like this schedules are so hard in like the Big Ten, the SEC, some of these conferences that it's like you're toast. Like you have 0 shot of making it. Like, and this is still providing. I think the worry was, well, games won't matter. Well, like Georgia, Florida certainly matters. Like Tennessee, Georgia is going to matter for both teams. Like those are going to be huge games from like an on-field rank perspective, but also from like, we still need to make we have to win for playoff perspective. So the people that complained about the 12 team not like keeping games mattering, like, I don't know, these schedules are so insanely hard that that changes everything. If it was the old schedules with the 12 team, I would agree. But because we have so many difficult games each week, I think those people are, they're done. It doesn't make sense.
Totally. What you mentioned with respect to like we don't have a blueprint in terms of 12-team playoff. Like I continue to listen to a lot of Cover 3. They talk about it all the time on there. They're like, 12 teams need to get in, but we don't know what that looks like because it's the first year or whatever. I haven't done much playoff betting, but you would assume that like there's definitely opportunities there given like we don't have to set the lines, right? The sports books do. So like, good luck. There's probably some opportunity there. If you were to like zoom out or zoom in, I guess like a lot about the direction of college football kind of sucks in terms of like thank God we generally speaking have so many games going at one time because like after I got out of the shower, a game was going on or whatever. I had like the quad box going on, the YouTube TV, like 4 games.
Yeah.
And like all 4 are at commercial. I flipped to another 4 thing. All like 3 of them are at commercial. Like, thank goodness we live in an age that we do with respect to options because like that shit would suck. And it just additionally like the continued like professionalization, all that shit. Fine, it sucks. But like one of the good outcomes, right, associated with this is like we get so many slates, so many games. Like it goes on so long that like one of the outcomes with this is just like there's so many opportunities for gambling, for money making, to turn over your bankroll to and stuff like that. That I don't know that. Like as someone who's sports betting, model's not the right word, perspective's not the right approach, is basically like just throw lots of bets and stuff that I think are like good bets and like let every week
play and pray, basically.
Spray and pray, and hope and kind of think that like, okay, I have enough of an edge that like more times than not, it's going to play out favorably. Like I love seeing all the endless slates that we get now. Like it's just like having all these midweek games, adding additional weeks to the calendar. Like it aligns perfectly with what I'm looking to do.
Yeah, and I think the issue, or the fake issue maybe, is like the NCAA likes to, or NCAA and sometimes NCAA fans like to talk about, is like, oh, the health of the players. Well, like
yeah, that's a good one.
Now they're getting paid, right? Like it feels a little wrong when you're extending schedules by weeks and weeks and weeks and they're not getting paid. That feels a little bit wrong. But now they're getting compensated. So I feel a little bit better about it. And I love the extra games. Now we're going to get the playoff. We're going to get the 12-team playoff starting, I think, the week before Christmas. And then we're going to have the second round, the 8 teams remaining or what have you, 2 days after Christmas. That's like at Christmas, I will be not watching NBA. I think there's NFL or some sort of non-basketball related game. And then I'll be talking about the playoff with 2 days later. That's incredible. I want to ask you a few questions. Coming away from the Georgia game, my takeaway, which is typically incorrect, is that Georgia's good. Obviously, you can't go to Texas, even if Texas is overrated. You can't go to Texas and win by 2 touchdowns and not be good, especially after losing barely to Bama at Bama, right? But is Texas any good?
It was awesome seeing. So I'll talk about Georgia and Texas a little bit. So I mentioned it a little bit before. It was so awesome as a fan finally seeing our defense play like our defense for the first time in forever. I think both teams kind of have the same problem, or maybe there's multiple problems for one or both of them, but like I think they share similarly the weakness that, like, who is the killer skill position player that you are just like I need to take that guy out of the game on either team. Uga definitely doesn't have it. I mean, ETN looked really good, but
it's like first time all season.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like it's not like when Uga has Bowers, right?
You can say it. You're missing the token white guy.
Ladd?
You're missing Ladd. You're missing Bowers. Lucky needs to evolve, or Delp needs to evolve.
Bowers is not a token white guy. Bowers is one of the best tight ends of all time.
But you need the random white skill guy that's incredible. And the thing with Ladd and Bowers was obviously they were very good. They're doing great in the NFL, Bowers especially.
Yeah.
But like they always stepped up in the big moment. Like they always had the big catch. Like their quarterback play was very good, but like they made huge plays in huge situations, like every single time. And there's just nobody on the field right now. Not that they have to be white, obviously, but it was just a joke. There's nobody on the field right now for Georgia that makes the big play. Like, they just don't create those opportunities and situations and convert on them.
Who is the Texas guy who scares the daylights out of you, right? They don't have it.
I think in theory, we thought they had an incredible receiver room, but like, I don't know. I think Golden's cool and Bond's cool, but like, they're not like Worthy was, or, A.D. Mitchell. Like they were creating huge plays and doing similar things. I would say not to the level of Ladd and Bowers, but like way better than they are now. I don't know. Is Baxter the missing piece? Like, is the fact that Baxter's not there? Like, because Blue has been underwhelming. And then Wisner has been cool, but like, I don't know. He's not like anybody that's game changing currently. He's a young player, obviously, and then the quarterback play has just not been what they need. So I am sitting here thinking, and this is not a joke, I can't believe I'm saying this in the year of 2024, mid-season. I don't know how safe Texas should feel going up against Vandy this weekend.
I agree.
Vandy plays the style, like kind of like a old school, like I hate playing Georgia Tech with the triple option because I never practice it, and then I have to practice it for a week, and then everybody has to be super disciplined or fuck type thing. That's kind of like what Vandy does, is they play this like keep the ball away from you. They're going to convert on every third down, or they're going to get to 4th and 1 and like plus side field and then convert it. And then all of a sudden it's the end of the first quarter. You haven't even touched the ball and you're down 30-0. And they didn't do that. They did that to an extent against Bama, right? They won 40-35, but like against Virginia Tech, it was the opener, right? But like, it just felt like Tech never had the football. They made one mistake, and Vandy took advantage of it. They have like a game changer. We love Diego Pavea. I kind of hate him because he keeps beating teams that I root for, but I love him at the same time. I think Vanderbilt. I don't think Vanderbilt wins, but what's the line on that one? Do you know?
20.
20?
I think so.
Yikes! I don't know, man. That feels like a lot of points for a team that has some good wins.
Yeah, I hear you. I'd be nervous back in Texas. There.
Is that at Vanderbilt too?
Yes.
It's a tough place to play. All right, let me ask you this: is Indiana legitimate?
Yeah, dude. What do you think? So they have like the head coach is Kurt Signetti, and then they have a guy who shares a name with the NFL coach Mike Shanahan, right? He's their OC. He gets like not necessarily like hype of recognition within our circles, but you don't really hear him talked about too much. But I would love to get an understanding of like the constant success that we've seen from that duo at James Madison and now Indiana. What is the sharing or how should the recognition and credit be allocated between them in terms of like they can just take they can put anyone into like at quarterback and it doesn't matter, like they're just gonna be a machine moving the ball so efficiently, scoring so many points. That is like one of the more interesting things that team that like I don't have a good feel or understanding of, but like I would like to get a feel for, because just from a downstream perspective, like after this year, like there's no hiding this success, right? Like people with big bags are going to come for your coaching staff presumably, and if you can't pay up if you're Indiana, like I don't know what kind of person Signetti is in terms of like I look down at you very much and consider you to be a pretty horrible human being if you're a one and done. But Signetti 61, right? Like maybe the calculus is a little different in terms of how long depending on what your goals are from your coaching career, when you don't necessarily have that many years that you're looking to actually coach. What if some blue blood school or whatever comes to him and it's like, hey, here's $9 million. And then what it like does, I don't know, like is Mike Shanahan, like is that dude responsible for everything that we're seeing in terms of like how Todd Centeio can be a top 10 quarterback, how Rourke like is just super efficient every single game, gets hurt, Payman Jackson comes in, doesn't even matter, stats are even better. Like it's ridiculous.
It is interesting to think. You wonder, and we will find out at some point who's responsible.
Yeah,
and maybe both are just great offensive minds. I could see that happening too. They just have been so good for so many years. It's like, I mean, like you said, Centeio being a top 10 option at quarterback, Jordan McLeod being awful for 4 years, and then all of a sudden being good. Like that just doesn't happen because he just needed 5 years to figure it out. Like, so I will say, what is the big win? What's the big Indiana win? What's like hey, you got to put us top 10. We beat.
At a certain point, do you really need that? From like the way that these things generally work. If you're P4 and you don't lose, like you're just going to continue to ascend the ranks, like the BYU playbook, the Iowa State playbook. Like,
so I think it doesn't matter because they play Ohio State towards the end, and it won't matter, period, because even if they go like 11-1, they could, in theory, go 11-2.
It will matter for some of us have 40-1 Iowa or Indiana to make the Big Ten championship tickets.
You should feel pretty good because they play Washington at Michigan State, Michigan.
It's pretty depressing the way that it actually plays out in practice. They basically need to beat Ohio State, or Ohio State needs to lose twice. The tiebreakers are in the Big Ten and like some of these other conferences are structured in a way where if you're not talking about head to head, what the tiebreaker comes down to, like you go down the chain and it comes down to the strength of record of the conference teams that you play. And theirs is abysmal compared.
It's awful. Yeah, you can't rely on that tiebreaker.
Like Ohio, like you look at the win percentages. like let's say they're 11-1, Ohio State's 11-1, Penn State's 11-1. Ohio State's win percentage of the teams they play in conference is like above 60%. Indiana and Penn State are both in like the 40% range. They have no chance. The only way that they would get in is like, let's say they beat Ohio State. Obviously they're in. Ohio State loses to like, let's say Penn State, and then the chips fall in a somewhat lucky way, but like it's possible between the teams that Penn State and Indiana play, where Indiana's teams stack a little higher, but that feels like a little bit of a uphill battle.
That won't happen. I don't think that'll happen.
I have a spreadsheet.
I'm looking at the schedule, and they play like the same opponents, except
there's 4. I have a spreadsheet that I'm tracking it on.
Yeah, so like, does USC count for in this tiebreaker? Would USC count for Penn State towards like benefiting? Because
yes, Penn State's are Illinois, USC, Wisconsin, and Minnesota.
Yeah, and
it's fucked.
Yeah, and Indiana's is what? Nebraska, Northwestern, Michigan State,
and Michigan.
And Michigan? Yeah, we need to get to Michigan here in a second, but that's not gonna. You don't need a tiebreaker. You need it to be 2 teams or no tiebreaker, because
they need to beat Ohio State.
I will say, for all the years that Indiana got screwed on scheduling, all the years they just got murdered because they were just on the wrong side of things. Have you seen their 2025 schedule?
No. It's
equally as impressive. It's the same thing basically, except they subbed out. They don't have Ohio State, but they get Oregon. They play, so their 2 tough games are at Oregon and at Penn State, but like everything else is fairly manageable. They play at Iowa, which is not great, but it's fine. They play UCLA, Michigan State, Illinois, Wisconsin at home. Like, they have a very manageable schedule. So good for them. Kudos to them for not getting screwed every single year on scheduling.
I have 2 questions for you about them. One, have you proactively added Taven Jackson in any leagues previously?
No, but I should look, shouldn't I?
Yeah, I got him in 1. I should have gotten him in OG Dynasty because I was looking through and looking where he was available and forgot to get him there. So that should be fun this week.
When did you add him?
Why or when?
When did you add him in the industry?
I think Nate mentioned him in one of his articles, and I was like, "Oh, let me go check if he's available."
Oh, it was one of his. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. The Pulse. Yeah. I remember reading that and thinking, good point. But I'm so not focused on it, dynasty stuff. So no, I'm not going to get any. My guess is I'm not going to get any of him.
What would you categorize their offense as? I don't even know.
Good. I don't know. I don't think you can peg it as there's the volume isn't there for it to be. I think what makes them really good is that the style of play is nothing insane, but it's just super efficient and just quality everything. It's not like a certain style. It's just they do what they do very well.
I feel like it's like a poor man's that Joe Burrow LSU offense where everything was just so efficient. It's like that. I feel like it's like that, but just with worse, without aliens on it. Right. So if you just put normal NCAA football athletes in that offense, I think it would look the same where everything is just super efficient. They're not totally air raid, but they skew pass. And then when they run, it works really well.
So let's talk Michigan here for a second. Is Michigan going to go bowling? Are they going to make a bowl game?
I don't know what the schedule looks like.
It's not good, dude. It's not good at all.
How many wins do you guys have?
They're 4-3. The rest of the schedule is Michigan State at night. They play Oregon, at Indiana, Northwestern, at Ohio State. So they have to basically win Michigan State and Northwestern, or they have to knock off a ranked team and one of Michigan State and Northwestern.
All to get to the could you guys be in my favorite bowl? It just changed names. It's that one that's played in Detroit.
The Lions Stadium, the Ford Field.
Could you be there?
I would not go to that. Did you just ask me if I'd go to the bowl?
No.
Okay,
I mean,
I was going to say what.
You're part of the team. I'm asking if you guys could be there, like Michigan. Could you guys?
I think in theory, yes, because that's a Big Ten team. But I looked at a projection of bowl stuff just for fun, obviously yesterday, because none of that stuff matters. It's so far away.
Yeah.
And they had Michigan in like one of those like 4th tier Florida bowls.
That seems presumptive.
Yeah, but I think what happens is if the bowl can go like one tier down based on, so they could say, okay, well, Minnesota has 8 wins and Michigan's got 6, but like theoretically we can grab Michigan because of. It just comes down to picks. It used to be the Quicken Lane Bowl, maybe. In
it's like, dude, that you guys are. It's basically like getting your fucking prop voided when your player gets injured. You're getting rescued by a flag bowl.
By basically tradition and alumni base, yeah. 100%. If you're Michigan, should you have before the USC game said like, "Whoops, my bad," and taken the contract away from Sharon Moore and not let him sign it?
Yeah, probably. I mean, how are we talking buyout yet?
I've already asked. I talked to Mox about it. We were talking about it yesterday in Slack. Like, what's the situation? Should he be fired? Stuff like that. And apparently, I found an article about it, and it's basically like Michigan would owe 75% of the remaining contract. And I think the math is like $20 million if you were to like fire him at the end of the season.
What does Espel think?
I don't know. I haven't looked.
He doesn't seem pleased on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not encouraging. Did you see Sharon Moore's quotes that were like, if you could throw a ball 15 yards, come and try out? I'm not kidding.
No.
Dude, if my program ever said, it's one thing to be a kicker. Dude, if you kick a 40-yard field goal, come try out. Not kidding. Who said that the other day? Someone did. A coach did. I'm totally fair. Hey, that's fine. Whatever. Quarterback from a team that just won a championship and your best option is to try out random kids in week 9?
Well, he played good enough like I'm following along my props throughout the day, and I'd already marked under 180 yards for Tuttle as a W, like in my head. And then I'm like going and doing my accounting last night, and I see it gets graded as a loss. I'm like, what the fuck happened here? And dude threw for 60 yards in the final minute.
Yeah, I'm not happy about that one.
That's not acceptable.
We talked about the under on Tuttle, and it just was like, I knew it was coming. Down 2 touchdowns with like a minute left, no timeouts. You just knew Illinois was just going to keep it in front of them and play far back, and
I lost like 4 props that way this week.
It was a lot of them. It was the Louisville receivers did that. Lacey and Brooks both did that.
Did you have the one that really fucking pissed me off was Fernando Mendoza?
I didn't have anything on.
I got it at like 267. He entered the fourth quarter at 169 or something like that, and like they're. The final minute, he's still under. They have the ball ready to kick a field goal at the other team's 20. Missed the field goal. The other team, I forget who they were. NC State goes 3 and out, gives it back. He completes another pass and gets on like a final pass he completes. Like my buddy who keeps giving you constructive feedback. We were talking about like overs and unders and stuff like that and prop betting. And he was talking about how he feels that, like, generally speaking, like things like lines on a prop lines on a game basis, not just season long. Season long, it's like so obvious how things have skewed towards like baiting you to take overs. He feels that like there's a little more of that going on a game to game basis. My process is not data driven enough where I could like actually discern something like that. But after seeing how like Saturday went really well for me, generally speaking, but like losing like 3 or 4 QB props where on the final fucking drive, a QB like just backdoors and over while his team's down 30 points. That like, would that have happened if the lines were maybe set a little more toward the median and like not necessarily like maybe not set so much to like bait you to overs? I don't know.
They want you. I'm telling you right now, they want you to bet over, and they're putting the lines. It's kind of like not to the same extent as the season props that we did talk about in like July and August, not to that extent. But I'm telling you, it's anecdotal, and I don't have any evidence to support it. But we are suggesting so many more overs than normal, and I think it's because these books are throwing lines like 10, 15 yards for quarterbacks, etc.
I totally believe it.
Lower than last year. I think they're begging you to go over.
Yeah, I totally believe it. I'm probably taking like at least 50% unders, but I would like to be doing more. But like, yeah, it just feels like there are like a lot of the stuff that just pops to you at first hand. It's like, oh shit, that line's like way too low. I got to go over on that. And then like,
yeah, I think we talk about it like in our side, behind the scenes type stuff. And it's like, why is this number 63? That's Dylan Sampson. Dude's averaging like 90 yards a game, like at least like stuff like that. Another one that sucked was USC receivers. Jacoby Lane's line was 38.5, and he had 3 for 38 for like 2 quarters. And they pulled those shenanigans where they kicked the field goal 4th and 1, and it got blocked, and Maryland got the ball back. Did you see any of this?
No.
So it was like 4th and 1 on like the 25 or so, and they were up by 4. I think it was 4, and so they kicked the field goal, which is stupid for obvious reasons. It's like a minute and change left. No timeouts for Maryland, and they block it. Maryland goes down, scores, and then I'm like, oh, we have life. Jacoby Lane catches a pass, so his over hits, but then Kyron Hudson was like 20 yards from his line, and we had talked about going under, which was great, and then they completed like 3 passes to him.
Damn,
it was brutal. It was that kind of weekend, man. It just really was. There was like, Tuttle was.
That one sucked.
Maddening.
The one so earlier in like I think there's multiple ways to measure that the lines that books are setting are getting sharper, as you would expect as the season goes along. Like the more data that becomes available, it's not going to be favorable for us bettors, right? One of the ways that like I find myself kind of seeing that manifest is earlier in the year, I like lines would pop and I'd immediately be like, oh, that's like a 2 or 3 unit play. This week, I don't think for Saturday, I had any bet that I made that was more than like whatever I was doing for like 1 unit. Every single one was just a single unit. So like the lines were like fine in that regard. The one that I considered one of the ones that I considered like, oh, I feel really good about this from a process perspective, but I didn't like double or triple down or anything like it, was Pavia rushing under against Ball State. I was like, they are going to like, they're just going to control the game. He's banged up. He left the last game with a knee injury. Like they're not going to run him. And dude, I was in the back of my mind, I was like, well, what if they fuck around like they did against Georgia State and play down to this team and it's a game and they need to break it out. Sure enough, like we're into the third quarter and I think they were losing to Ball State, or it's like they're a 1-point game and they just they break glass, and in like a 20-play sequence, they run him like 12 times and he goes from 1 carry for 10 yards to 12 for 83 over the course of like 2 drives. And it's like, you just saw it happening, like it from a game log, a play log perspective. You're like, this is fucked. Like there's 0 chance. So that was exciting.
It's Diego Pavea effect. Sometimes they just bowling ball him all the way down the field.
Yeah.
You got anything else? I think everything I wanted to tackle, we tackled.
What's on tap for this week? We got CUSA on Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Here, I'm gonna pull it up. And then I'm so done with the Sun Belt after what is wrong with Texas State? Like, why do they insist on playing these like games in this way every year? Where that like, who else lays an egg that hard than this team? I like it. Thanks for lighting my money on fire, guys. Anyway, Georgia Southern, Old Dominion. That'll be kind of fun, I think, on Thursday. And then Syracuse on Pitt on Thursday is fun as well. Friday we get the 11 o'clock Rutgers ski, the Boise UNLV game. Good thinking, guys, with that from a scheduling perspective. Friday's really nice though, right? With Louisville BC will be fun as well. But like, what are the big games on this weekend? It's kind of like, I feel like it's not overly interesting, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
LSU A&M at night, like that feels like. What do you think the likelihood that we see some shit thrown on the field in that game is?
Now that's something that actually might happen. I said, people won't throw shit on the field again, but that feels like an opportunity.
All the makings for it, right? Not, like I'd been betting Nuss over every single week, just like it hits, and this week it didn't. But I think we bounced back this week at A&M. Probably sometime late in the third quarter when LSU's up 10. Some not egregious penalty gets called, and then batteries get thrown on the field and stuff like that. Do you think there's any way that Penn State loses at Wisconsin? Like those lines.
It's possible. I'm not all that. It's USC. I'm not super impressed with USC, but like, I don't know. That doesn't feel like the craziest of situations. Like, I don't know. I feel like, is it at Wisconsin?
Yeah. Night game.
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to think of Penn State yet. They really haven't played anybody. The USC was a challenging game because it was West Coast, and USC is solid enough. But like, I am not completely sold on. I think Penn State's obviously a good team, a very solid team, top 20. But I'm thinking from like a playoff perspective, are they really that good? I want to see Drew Aller at a real game.
They have
Drew Aller's looked great in the past against bad teams.
They have a middle of the road tight end, right? He's fine. He's nothing.
Second best tight end at best in the country.
At best.
At best.
More middle of the road. Probably not even a finalist for any awards or anything like that. But yeah, I guess I would like that game to be interesting from lots of different. Interesting in the sense that like Washington or Wisconsin doesn't get blown out from multiple angles. Like I'd like to see them, Penn State, be in trouble from a Big Ten perspective relative to Indiana. I'm looking at the schedule, from like a national drooler perspective. It's probably not the best, but like it looks like there should be lots of fun kind of fantasy related games.
I think we're consistently getting good matchups. Not some weekends we have like the insane Texas Georgia or Bama Georgia type stuff, but I still think we're getting quality matchups.
Oh, I have a question for you now. I'm looking through the schedule. Did you get eyes on SMU Stanford at all?
I did not. No.
I'm curious what happened with Ashton Daniels that they went to Elijah Brown. If it was just like we're pulling the plug on this and like it's time, or if it was injury related, but it's whatever.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you, to be honest. If
what I would absolutely love if, like, let's say it is Elijah Brown time. The cat's kind of out of the bag probably with that stat line, but I would love to see a copy paste of rushing yards from Ashton Daniels to Elijah Brown, and then we could print some money on that under, because that dude he's not running. Like,
no, that would be a good one.
That would be fun.
It'd be like Dylan Raiola week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's where my head went.
Yeah. All righty. Well, we kept you waiting. Hopefully, it was worth the wait, guys. Hope everybody enjoys the slate. Give us your thoughts and opinions on if someone's going to be throwing bottles at players and coaches in the future. And we'll chat with you guys soon, hopefully. Have a good one, guys.